Alex Harper woke to a sound that did not belong in a dorm. The drag was slow and stubborn, like wet rope kissing old wood. He tasted iron in the air before fear found his throat. His door did not open. Nails glittered where a gap should be. He whispered to himself, steady and small. Alex said, "This is a prank, right?" The peephole showed only pitch, choked with something jammed into it. The hall breathed like a lung. A draft slipped under the threshold and smelled like cold pennies. He called campus security, and silence answered with a soft click. Alex said, "Maya, you up?" The vent across the desk murmured once, and then held its breath. He flicked on his lamp. The lampshade showed faint rust specks he had never seen. He pressed his ear to the door and heard counting. It was thin and patient. It skipped the number 3. He grabbed a flathead from his desk kit and slid it against a nail head. The metal hummed like a tuning fork. Alex said, "Who is there?" The drag outside shifted closer, then stilled like a hunter learning his heartbeat. The counting resumed and skipped the same number again. Alex said, "Maya, can you hear me?" The vent answered with a tiny scrape. He placed his mouth near the metal and spoke softly. The hall replied by matching his breath. He checked his doorframe for weaknesses. The nails sat in neat ranks, heads polished, angles perfect. He imagined hands placing them with care. He imagined someone listening for his mistakes. He turned his lamp lower until the room felt like a cave with one ember. Alex said, "Stay calm." He opened his laptop and searched for the dorm's maintenance schedule. The campus portal stalled and then redirected to an old banner with a retired building name. He scrolled and found notes that looked copied and pasted. The entries repeated like a chant. He felt the pattern settle around him like a net. The dragging returned and stopped directly outside. A single knuckle tapped the floor 3 times without saying the third number. A whisper threaded through the vent, thin as floss. Alex said, "Maya, is that you?" The whisper twisted into static and fell silent. He typed the old building name into a private search bar. A cached forum post blinked alive with dead links. He clicked an archived floor plan and found a maintenance chute behind his closet. He measured the wall by feel, and it answered with hollow promise. He tugged the closet aside and the hangers chimed like nervous teeth. The counting outside slowed and turned tender, as if it wanted him to relax. Alex said, "Not opening." The door sighed. He thought of the nails and the way they gleamed like new coins. He thought of time moving wrong in places that forget their names. He pressed his ear to the closet drywall and heard a faint pen scratching. Someone was writing where no hand could reach. The pen sound stopped when he breathed too loud. Alex said, "I hear you." The reply was a single scraped letter that could be his initial. He steadied his hands and set the screwdriver against the baseboard. The wood lifted with a reluctant sigh and revealed a narrow black seam. The air from the seam was colder and old, like unopened storage. He slid the screwdriver deeper and felt metal teeth. He fished until something clicked against the blade. He drew out a nail brown with age and etched with an initial that matched a missing name. The hall answered with a drag that sounded pleased. Alex said no. He set the nail on the desk and watched it stain the finish with a dull ring. He realized the rust on the lampshade had not been there yesterday. His phone vibrated once with a message from Tyler Quinn. Tyler said, "Dude, chill, I am with Ethan." Relief came like a false spring. Alex typed back and watched the dots appear, vanish, return. He asked for a video call, and the dots froze. The hall whispered the same words, in a voice that almost matched. He killed the sound and listened to the room instead. The seam in the wall exhaled. The nail on the desk rolled a fraction and stopped with the etched letter facing him. He felt watched by a geometry he could not see. Alex said, "I am not opening." The peephole clicked once, a polite knock from the darkness. He lifted the screwdriver and chose one nail to test. The counting outside began again, gentle and patient, and never said 3. Alex drew a crude map across his notebook, marking vents, cracks, and seams. The layout looked like nothing at first, but when he rotated it, the shape bent into a twisted symbol. He whispered, "This is wrong." His pencil snapped with the pressure. He heard a footstep above him, heavier than any student should make. He pulled up the maintenance portal again and saw the word fumigation stamped on repeat. The dates stacked like a ritual. He said, "They do this every semester." He touched the baseboard where the nail had been and felt the wood pulse faintly. The lamp flickered as though it had heard his thought. His laptop chimed with an incoming connection from an unknown sender. The message appeared without a name. "Stay quiet. It can hear through the metal." His breath caught as the vent rattled softly. The dragging sound returned, now pacing the hall like a restless animal. The map's twisted form unsettled him, like a brand burned into memory. He heard Maya Brooks whisper again from the vent, "Don't answer it." He froze, staring at the sealed peephole. He said, "Who is out there?" Silence pressed back, followed by a scrape. His phone buzzed with another message from Tyler, cheerful in tone, telling him not to overthink. He stared at the screen until a chill settled in his bones. He whispered, "Why do you sound so calm?" The screen blinked black for a second, too long. He slammed the lid shut, chest tight. The scratching in the vent rose and fell like breathing. He leaned against the wall, listening hard. He felt certain now the nails were less about locking him in and more about keeping something else out. The drag outside stopped directly at his door, pressing close enough that the wood groaned. The laptop chimed again, forcing him to lift the lid despite his dread. A plain text message scrolled in from someone called Mr. Vale. "Blueprints are wrong. Halls are not straight. Find the chutes." Alex whispered, "Who are you?" The reply came fast. "Janitor. Dead to them already." His hands trembled as he saved the files. Blueprints flickered open, showing halls coiled in patterns, not lines. Each curve ended in an X near rooms like his. He said, "They built this to trap us." He dragged his finger along the digital map and saw his own room highlighted. Another message arrived, "Do not trust Tyler." Alex slammed the lid again, heart hammering. He shoved the laptop under his mattress as if it could not watch him there. The dragging noise now began again, softer, like it was letting him catch his breath before starting over. The hall lights outside clicked faintly, a buzz he could sense through the nailed wood. He pressed his ear to the door. The sound was not fluorescent hum, but something humming through the wiring. He pulled the map closer. Each marked X had initials beside it. Some matched old flyers he had seen for missing students. "Awon," he said. "It is all recorded." He grabbed the nail, etched with initials, and held it against the blueprint. It lined perfectly with a missing name. He whispered, "This is a pattern of bodies." The door shuddered with a faint knock. He pulled away, skin crawling. His phone buzzed again. Otto loaded slowly. The hallway outside his room, the angle taken from right above his doorframe. He said, "Someone is here." He dropped the phone and the screen cracked, splitting the picture but not erasing the figure barely visible in the shadows. Alex shoved the nail back into the drawer, chest hammering. He said, "I am not part of this." The vent rattled once in reply. He grabbed the cracked phone, fingers shaking. A final message appeared. "It knows you now." He threw the phone across the room, and it struck the closet door. The old drywall groaned with the impact. He pressed his forehead to the desk, trying to breathe. He said, "Think." He opened the blueprint again, and zoomed until the lines blurred. Behind his wall, a service chute angled toward the basement. He whispered, "Escape." The dragging outside stopped. For the first time, silence became worse than noise. The peephole clicked once, and the lamp died with a sharp pop. Darkness swallowed him whole, and he felt the cold air of the vent brush his cheek like a hand. Darkness pressed like a thumb to glass while the laptop fan whispered, Alex said, "If you can hear me, say something." The vent answered, with a hush that bent into a syllable, and died. He opened the files Mr. Vale had sent. The blueprints kinked into loops, as if the dorm had a spine that curled when watched. A dotted line traced from his room to a service chute near the laundry. He whispered, "You built mazes." A new message bloomed, blunt and spare. "Mr. Vale," said Doorsbait, "metal carries it." He stared at the word "it" until his eyes salted. The hall gave a small grunt like a shoulder settling into a lock. He typed, hands numb, and asked what it wanted. The cursor blinked, and no reply came. He felt the room lean toward the door, hungry to listen. His phone buzzed with a cheerful ping that did not belong here. Tyler said, "On my way, easy fix." Relief rose and then turned cold in the same breath. He zoomed the map until pixels broke into a net of corridors that refused straight lines. Alex said, "Mr. Vale, why warn me?" The reply arrived before his pulse could settle. Mr. Vale said, "I cleaned here. I heard it count." He imagined a gaunt man with a ring of keys and a throat full of dust. The hall ticked once, as if the building had a clock under the paint. He whispered, "How do I get out?" The response struck like a nail head. "Mr. Vale," said chute behind closet, "do not open to hall." The words shook his bones with their certainty. He shoved the closet aside until hangers clanged like teeth. The drywall hummed with a thin, patient tone. The laptop chimed again, brighter, like a laugh in church. Tyler said, "Ethan says, stay put. Be there soon." The vent exhaled cold and tasted like old coins. Behind the closet, the seam hid where the paint thickened. Alex said, "Please, be hollow." He tapped once, and the wall answered with a soft drum. He slid the screwdriver into the seam and worried it open. Cold air spilled with a note of bleach and rot. A paper corner brushed his knuckle from the dark. He pinched it free, careful as a surgeon. The note was damp and trembling in his grip. Ink ran to the edges like it wanted to flee. He read the scrawl and felt his scalp crawl. Maya said, "I tried to warn you. Do not answer when it sounds like me." A date floated in the corner and did not make sense. It was 2 days from now, written with a hand already shaking. He read the note again and felt the room tilt. Alex said, "Maya, where are you?" The vent clicked as if a tongue touched metal. Footsteps entered the far end of the hall and began the slow drag he knew too well. He killed the laptop glow and waited for his eyes to learn the dark. The drag paused at each door like a collector counting spoons. Whoa! His phone trembled with a new message. Tyler said, "At your door. Say my name so I know." The request tasted wrong in his mouth. He did not speak. The peephole winked with the smallest shift in pressure. He held the damp note and listened to the drag stop where he lived. The counting started again and slid past the number it would not say. Air thinned until he could hear wires sing behind the walls. "Hi," Alex said, "Mr. Vale, if I go to the chute, will it follow?" Letters spilled onto the screen with brutal speed. Mr. Vale said, "It follows voices through metal. Whisper only. Count wrong." He tasted the absurd logic and accepted it like medicine. He wrapped the note in plastic from a binder sleeve and slid it into his pocket. The hall went very quiet. The kind of quiet that learns your name. His phone chimed again, too eager. Tyler said, "Open up, man. I can hear you breathing." He stepped back, steadying his grip on the tool. Alex said, not opening. The door answered with a smile he could not see, pressed into wood grain and waiting for a mistake. The dragging grew rhythmic, a pulse mimicking breath. Alex whispered, "You want me to open?" His words vanished into the metal. The vent answered with a laugh that wasn't his. He scanned the nails, noticing etchings not random but deliberate initials. Each one tied to missing flyers he had glimpsed weeks earlier. He pressed his forehead to the door and said, "You counted them." His skin chilled with the memory of those names. The laptop blinked with a new file, audio only. He clicked play and static roared, then a voice cut through. Renee Park said, "If you hear this, I didn't make it out." The voice shook, half choked with sobs, ending in a shriek of tearing metal. The file ended abruptly, leaving silence heavier than sound. Alex's grip on the screwdriver trembled. The hall went still as if listening to his pulse. He whispered, not opening, but the door quivered as if it smiled. Alex replayed the audio, and the scream seemed longer the second time. He slammed the lid down, breathing shallow. He whispered, "Renee, what did you see?" The vent clicked once like a key in a lock. His phone buzzed. Tyler said, "I can fix this, just open." The tone was steady, too measured. Alex frowned. Tyler never wrote without slang. He typed back, "Send a picture." The reply was instant, a photo of his own room from above, his body hunched over the laptop. His blood iced. He jerked his head upward, but the ceiling only showed a faint crack running across the plaster. He whispered, "This is not Tyler." The photo lingered on the screen, time-stamped seconds ago. His lamp flickered and shadows swelled as if leaning toward him. Alex's chest heaved as he locked the phone. He whispered, "You're inside." The vent exhaled like a sigh. His laptop lid rattled though untouched. Another file appeared, text scrolling in jagged bursts. Mr. Vale said, "It wears voices. Do not trust speech. It learns fast." Alex read the words twice, heart racing. He whispered, "Then how do I know you're real?" No reply came. The hall filled with footsteps dragging slow and sure. They stopped at his door. Then came a knock, soft and almost polite. He clutched the screwdriver like a weapon. The nails shimmered faintly in the lamplight. His throat closed around words he would not speak. He pressed against the desk, certain that if he blinked too long, the door would open itself. The knock came again, harder, followed by silence. Then a voice spoke, hushed and strained. Maya said, "Alex, help me." His body went rigid. The warning in the note burned in his pocket. He whispered, "You're not her." The voice broke into sobs that twisted into a chuckle. The vent rattled, metal teeth clanging as if something inside pressed against it. Alex stumbled back, pressing himself against the far wall. His phone chimed again. Tyler said, "Say my name so I know it's safe." He muttered, "You keep asking that." The air grew thin, every breath sharp with copper. The nails pulsed faintly, sweating moisture like condensation. He gripped the note tighter and whispered, not answering. The door creaked with patient delight. The peephole suddenly cleared, revealing an eye. Alex staggered. It was his own face staring through from the other side, motionless, expression flat. His chest constricted as he whispered, "That's not me." The reflection did not blink. The hall light outside flickered, flashing the double image again and again. The other Alex opened its mouth slowly, though no sound crossed. He backed away until his chair toppled. He whispered, "Stay away." The peephole blackened again, leaving only silence. He sank to the floor, clutching the screwdriver, his pulse beating loud enough to echo. The hall dragged once more, slower, patient, as though amused by his fear. He pressed his face into his knees and whispered, "You can't be real," though he already knew it was. The peephole stayed black, as if it had grown a scab. Alex steadied his breath and slid the closet further, feeling screws complain in the studs. The seam gaped like a throat. Mr. Vale said, "Chute runs to a service door." He whispered, "I am going." The hall answered with a single patient drag. He cut a strip of duct tape and wrapped his screwdriver handle for grip. The laptop blinked with a final note. Mr. Vale said, "If it calls you by name, answer with the wrong count." He memorized the cadence and exhaled. Tyler chimed again, too bright for the hour. Tyler said, "Ethan is right here, bro." The words tasted off, measured and neat. Alex pocketed Maya's note and bent to the baseboard. Nails sweated like cold glass. He felt the room lean, urging the door. He said, "Not the hall." The dark behind the seam breathed twice, and a faint metallic cough answered like a key waking after years. He eased his shoulder into the cavity and felt cold chalk his skin. The chute slanted down behind old drywall, smelling of bleach and attic dust. He whispered, "Count wrong." The hall replied with 1, 2, and swallowed the next number. He said, 4, and the wiring hummed like a startled hive. He slid deeper, toes sliding on paint flakes. The drag outside resumed but drifted away, as if it had missed a turn. The shaft narrowed near a rusted grate. A narrow card hung from twisted wire. He pinched it free and wiped grime with his sleeve. The plastic showed a headshot with a weary smile. Ethan Cole said, "Residential advisor." He tasted metal and distrust in the same swallow. He whispered, "Ethan, what did you lock?" The chute ticked as if something crawled behind him. He kept moving, scraping elbows, counting 4 whenever his name brushed the metal. The chute emptied into a forgotten corridor with concrete that kept its damp. Bare bulbs hung on frayed cords and hummed like insects. A door waited at the far end, painted with the dorm's old name in ghost letters. He whispered, "This is where you hid it." A board hung beside the knob beneath a crust of dust. He wiped it and coughed. Names nested in columns, each paired with a room and a date that read like a held breath. Lines crossed through half the list. He found Renee Park circled twice. He found Maya once, without a line. He found his own last name, written in a tidy hand that curved like a practiced signature. Alex said, "No." The entry carried tonight's date, set before midnight, as if the building could write time first. He stepped back and the bulb quivered, making the ink ripple on the page. Footsteps whispered through the wiring, and a voice borrowed Tyler's warmth. Tyler said, "Found you, man. Open from inside." The knob twitched, though his hand was not near it. He pressed the ledger to his chest and scanned lower entries. A neat column marked released in Ethan's rounded letters, then each name crossed out in darker ink. He whispered, "Released to what?" The note in his pocket seemed to heat like a warning. He read backward and saw special fumigation aligned with every cross. He said, "You logged the taking." The bulb dimmed as if the word offended it. The door shivered against its latch, polite and eager. He stepped to the wall and traced conduit lines that led to a breaker box. The metal was warm like breath behind a mask. The wiring throbbed twice to his name. He answered with a soft 4, and the latch stilled. He opened the ledger to the newest page and saw a thin space waiting below his name. A pen lay tucked in the clip, its tip stained brown like dried breath. Ethan Cole said, "There are procedures," the voice arriving from the grate calm and close. He froze with the pen between 2 fingers. The grate screws turned a quarter, then stopped as if teased from the other side. Ethan Cole said, "You will be safer if you comply." The word "safer" slid like oil. He stared at the signature line and felt the traps settle. Tyler said, "Sign so we can log release." Cadence matched the hallway count too perfectly. He placed the pen down and stepped back. Alex said, "I will not be logged." The corridor exhaled through every vent at once, sweet and stale. The ledger page lifted in that breath and showed a faint impression of a signature that had not yet been written. Alex pressed his ear to the breaker box and heard the hum resolve into a slow heartbeat. He whispered, "This whole place is alive." The vent coughed his name with a scrape of rust. He pulled the wire loop Mr. Vale had left and fit it around the hinge pin of the service door. He said, "One anchor at a time." The hall outside resumed its drag, closer now, deliberate in rhythm. He muttered the wrong count under his breath, 1, 2, 4, each syllable cutting against the hum. The pin groaned but held. He pushed harder, teeth clenched. The latch sighed like lungs deflating. The bulb above flickered and burst, raining glass on his shoulder. Darkness drowned the corridor. he whispered. Almost there, as the door hinge trembled in his grip, and the count outside slowed to match his pulse. The hinge pin finally slipped free with a metallic wail, echoing too loud through the ducts. The drag outside stopped instantly. Alex whispered, "It heard me." He scrambled to the next hinge, loop quivering in his slick fingers. The ledger on the clipboard rattled, as if a breeze touched only the paper. He ignored it and pulled harder. The wiring in the wall hummed higher, a chorus finding pitch. The vent spat a word. That was almost his mother's voice. He said, "Not you." His chest hammered as he bent the loop again. The second pin slid half an inch before freezing. The hallway beyond the nailed door groaned like a mouthful of nails shifting. He whispered the wrong count louder, his throat raw. 1, 2, 4, 5. The pin twitched, loosening as the corridor above shook with heavy pacing. The second pin came free with a sharp crack, and the door sagged inward. Air poured from the gap, freezing, metallic, smelling of pennies. Alex staggered back, coughing. The hum in the wires pitched into laughter. He said, "Just one more." He set the loop again and pulled. The service door groaned like something birthing itself. Footsteps thundered down the hallway above, each one cracking plaster. He heard Tyler's voice again, too calm. Tyler said, "Hurry, we are waiting." His hand trembled, but he pulled harder. The nail in his pocket warned, as though angry. He whispered, 1, 2, 4, 5, 7. The last pin shrieked, splitting the silence. The corridor lights all flared at once, then died, leaving him blind but for the door's glow, sour and silver, like moonlight shining where it should not. The door bowed forward, nails shivering in the frame as though resisting collapse. A pale hand slipped through the widening gap, fingers too long, knuckles jointed backward. It tapped the floor softly, deliberate rhythm. Alex froze, blood icing. The tapping counted, 1, 2, and skipped the forbidden number. He whispered back, 4, his voice breaking. The hand paused, nails scraping the concrete. The vent above spat static that curled into his name. He backed away, clutching the screwdriver like a crucifix. The ledger pages fluttered faster, as though caught in a storm. He whispered, "I am not part of this." The hand pushed deeper, its skin stretched and translucent, veins glowing faintly. The tapping began again, patient and mocking. The service door creaked wider, pulled by something unseen but inevitable. The gap widened, wind rushing through like a gasp from the building itself. Alex pressed his back to the wall, heart breaking into fragments. He whispered, "Close, close, close." But the nails along the doorframe pulsed like veins, alive with each count. The hand flexed, tapping faster, each strike cracking tiny chips from the floor. The sound filled the corridor like a drum beat. His phone buzzed once more. Tyler said, "You are ready now." He dropped the device and crushed it under his heel. Sparks spat and died. He shouted the wrong count until his voice shredded. The door shuddered in fury, but the tapping grew louder, triumphant. He clutched the note from Maya and whispered, "You said not to answer." The pale hand withdrew slowly, vanishing into the silver gap. The corridor exhaled, and the silence that followed was worse than the sound. The corridor cooled as the silver glow thinned to ash. Alex steadied his breath and listened to the silence settle like dust. He said, "Basement, then out." The ledger rasped against his sleeve, a dead thing asking to be kept. He left it hanging and moved, counting wrong under his breath. The building answered with faint ticks that sounded like teeth. Stairs waited beyond a service bend, metal tread slick with old mop water. He gripped the rail and felt a pulse in the steel. "Mr. Vale," said down 2 flights, door on the left, the text blinking on his dim screen like a last match. He said, "I hear you." The drag did not return, but the walls breathed, slow and pleased. He took the first step, and the lights above flickered, showing shadows that did not belong to him. He descended, counting wrong as if it were a prayer. The second flight widened into a landing with a window painted black from the outside. He pressed his palm to the glass and felt night breathing back. He whispered, "Almost there." A bulletin board hung crooked with posters, layered thick as bark. He peeled one edge and found older paper beneath, dates that did not fit. He said, "Years of the same night." Footsteps stirred above, too careful to be human. His phone buzzed with a single word from Tyler. Tyler said open. The reply typed itself in his throat, and he swallowed it unspoken. Mr. Vale's last message appeared again without prompt. Mr. Vale said, "Left door." He turned, and the corridor dipped, as if the floor was learning a new angle just for him. The left door waited with a bar across its center, paint bubbled, hinges weeping. He pressed and felt cold air muscle through the gap. Outside smelled like rain and power lines. He said, "Now." The door moved an inch and stopped against fresh nails punched from the other side. Heads gleamed with tonight's, date scratched shallow. He stared until the numbers blurred. He said, "You sealed it already." The bar vibrated as if a hand pushed back from darkness. A whisper rose from beyond, tender and wrong. Maya said, "Please." His pocket burned with her note, and he knew the voice was borrowed. He stepped away and scanned the jam, hunting an anchor point. The counting resumed somewhere far, patient and kind, like a lullaby. He worked the hinge with the wire loop, breath steady, voice wrong counting soft as thread. The loop bit, and the first anchor cried free. Wind surged through the slit, bringing another smell, old paper and formaldehyde. He said, "One more." The building leaned, and the posters on the landing fluttered as if clapping. A photograph on the wall caught his eye, trapped under dusty glass. Detective Rowan stood by this same door in a badge-stiff pose, the caption dated years ago. He said, "You have been here before." The second anchor turned, and the door shivered. Something on the other side tapped back, polite and eager. He whispered, "4." And the tapping paused, considering him like a puzzle not yet solved. The last pin slipped, and the door sagged, spilling damp night across his shoes. He pulled, and the threshold opened onto an alley that was not the campus he knew. Posters outside layered the bricks in decades, rain-lacquered and unreadable. He stepped forward and found himself staring into the same corridor again, perfect and wrong, the nailed door waiting like a grin. He said, "No." A whisper drifted from beyond, speaking his name with a kindness he feared. The counting began behind him and ahead, echo answering echo, each skipping the same number. He gripped the note and the wire and chose the only stubborn thing left. He said, "I will not open." The lights died. In the hush, nails ticked into fresh wood on both sides, marking the date, while something patient tapped once and waited for him to breathe.